Before the bell, before the steam rises from the bowl, before the shadow shifts across the stone, I have already endured. The robe is cold, the joints ache from yesterday's stance. The night wind still lingers in the marrow. But I do not speak of it, not to others, not even to myself. To endure in silence is not to deny pain. It is to learn from it without asking it to stop. The one who complains gives pain a name. The one who remains becomes the lesson. These are the 5 things I have learned, not in ceremony, not in comfort, but in the long breath of silent endurance. Lesson 1. The complaint weakens what the body can carry. When I first entered the temple, I believed that to speak of hardship would lighten it, that naming the soreness, describing the cold, groaning with each repetition, would somehow release the weight. But the opposite occurred. The moment I gave voice to discomfort, it grew louder. The body sagged under words. The breath scattered. The focus dimmed. One day, while holding a deep stance beneath winter wind, my lips parted. A breath escaped as a whisper. I can't. The master, sweeping nearby, paused, then said only, "The body bends. The mouth breaks it." He walked on. From that day I sealed my lips, not out of pride, but to preserve strength. The body can endure far more than we think, but only if we stop giving it reasons to stop. When pain comes, I exhale through the nose. I drop deeper into the hips, and I let the storm pass, unspoken. Lesson 2. What you carry in silence, no one can take from you. We train together, but we suffer alone. The floor is hard beneath the knees. The rope bites the palms. The cold climbs the spine. Sometimes there is no instruction, no acknowledgement, only the repetition, only the hour. And in that space, the mind begins to ask, why continue? The voice inside becomes louder when no voice outside replies, but there is a strength that grows only in the soil of silence. There was once a disciple who trained through injury, refusing to speak of it. He wrapped his ribs and moved slower, never explaining. When the master noticed, he said nothing. Only later, at night, he left salve by the disciple's bed and wrote 3 characters in the sand: bone, fire, river. The next morning, the disciple bowed deeper than ever before. What we endure without complaint becomes part of our marrow. No one can see it. No one can steal it. It shapes the way we walk and the weight we can carry without ever being noticed. Lesson 3. The one who complains seeks to delay the lesson. I have seen many come and go. Some arrive with loud words and louder effort. They shout during forms. They strike with pride. They speak often of how much they hurt, as if pain were a badge. But the lesson does not listen to noise. It waits. It returns in the low stance, in the quiet morning drill, in the weight held in stillness, not action. The master once said, "Pain repeats itself for those who argue." At first I did not understand, until I noticed my own resistance. When I resisted the cold, it stayed. When I cursed the aching arms, they stiffened further. When I allowed it, without judgment, without story, the pain remained, but it passed through me. The lesson came more quickly when I stopped delaying it with words. Now, when difficulty comes, I bow, I listen, and I let it complete its work without interruption. Lesson 4. Endurance becomes ease when no one is watching. There is a moment in training when the body stops fighting. The breath lengthens, the step softens, and pain becomes presence. But this moment never arrives when the gaze of others is near. When we train to be seen, we train intention. We endure only for reward, and the reward weakens the discipline. One morning, I practiced my forms alone in the rain, not because I was told to, but because the motion asked for it. The courtyard was empty, the stones slick, the robe heavy with water. I slowed my movement, focused only on the breath, the arc of the elbow, the contact of foot to earth. When the form ended, I stood still as the rain continued, not proud, not broken, just quiet. That night, the master passed me in the corridor. He did not mention what he saw, only said, "When the body stops performing, the spirit begins. Endurance is heaviest when it hopes to be witnessed, but when you suffer alone, without seeking audience, the weight changes. What once crushed you now carries you." Lesson 5. The silence after endurance becomes the root of all power. When the pain has passed, when the training is over, there is a silence. It does not come from rest. It comes from release. The kind of silence that follows not from peace, but from having given everything and needing nothing in return. You sit, you breathe, and the mind does not scatter. It sinks. The body no longer argues. The spirit no longer explains. The breath no longer hides. You are not empty. You are full of what cannot be described. Not pride, not even peace, only readiness. There was once a master who sat every evening alone, hands folded, eyes lowered, for many hours. No one knew what he did there, only that when hardship struck the temple, weather, injury, conflict, he moved instantly, decisively, without fear. A student asked him once what he practiced. He replied, "I wait for silence to deepen into movement." I did not understand until I had endured something without telling anyone, until I trained through illness, through doubt, through cold so deep my bones felt brittle. And yet I kept going, quietly. When it passed, I no longer needed anything to begin. I no longer hesitated when called. I had touched something beneath the pain, beneath the breath. And now everything begins there. Now I rise again. The wind has shifted. The robes hang heavier. The footsteps return to the hall. Training will begin again soon. The soreness has not left. The hunger speaks softly. The limbs carry the memory of repetition. But I do not speak of it, because I have learned what is carried without complaint becomes a deeper part of you, a silence that does not fade, a power that does not shout, a stillness that moves with you into every stance, every strike, every bow. This is what endures, and this is what teaches. No one sees the root, but it holds the mountain. Bone. Bone is the deepest part of the body. It is hidden, silent, enduring. You can bruise the skin, strain the muscle, but the bone remains. To endure silently is to train the bone, not for show, not for reward, but to become unshakable from the inside out. When you carry pain without speaking, it settles there, not as damage, but as depth, as structure. Fire. Fire is the pain itself, the heat of injury, the trial of repetition, the burning of the ego when it cannot continue. But fire also purifies, it tempers, it transforms. The disciple's pain was real, but his silence, his choice to endure without complaint, turned the fire into something more than suffering. It became discipline. He burned quietly and was shaped by the heat, not consumed by it. River. The river is movement, adaptability, the ability to keep flowing even when wounded, even when slowed. A river bends around stone. It does not stop. It does not complain. It finds another way. The disciple, wrapping his ribs, moving slower, adjusting his training, became the river. Not frozen by injury, not bitter with resistance, just quietly flowing on. Together, bone, fire, river, bone, the hidden strength, fire, the trial that tempers, river, the wisdom to adapt. The master said nothing because the disciple already understood. The words were not explanation, they were recognition, a silent bow between master and disciple. Nothing more was needed.